All right, here we go on a Wednesday. The Wisconsin Family Podcast. Mike Tannenbaum on ESPN just said, what if CBS Sports or someone comes along to Aaron Rodgers and says, hey, here's $300 million. Do some broadcasting for us. Well, that would certainly throw a wrench into things. All right, if you want to get a hold of the program, you can do that at Wisconsin_fam on Twitter. Also, email address is wisconsinfamily1@gmail.com. Today's official drink, regular Coke. Yep, that's good. All right, let's get started. There is some truth to this. The trade for Aaron Rodgers is not done. And a lot of things can happen as time goes on. You know, it's like why you don't take anything too seriously in politics when you're still a ways out from the election. Because things happen, stuff changes, stories come out, people make mistakes, people get on a roll, whatever the case may be. The point is, a lot can happen as time goes by. And the longer this trade lingers, the more there is an opportunity for something to happen to make it not go through. Now, I think everyone still agrees that it's going to happen, but it is a point to think about. Yeah, what if someone comes in and offers Rodgers a ton of money to be on TV? Aaron Rodgers, beyond that, isn't exactly the most stable of people. What if he wakes up one morning and just decides he doesn't want to do it? What if the Jets try calling him and he doesn't answer his phone? That Brian Gutekunst presser from down in Arizona, that was something to watch and listen to. So he comes out and says that, hey, after the season, we were trying to reach out to Rodgers. He wasn't answering. He wasn't getting back to us. So we did what we needed to do. Basically meaning they were moving on. And what is he supposed to do? So this whole thing kind of comes down to who do you believe? Because they're giving contradicting stories. Rodgers said, oh, well, it would have been nice if they would have informed me of their intention to move on. Then Goody says, well, we tried calling him and he wasn't answering his phone. I'm always going to believe that liars are going to lie. I don't know Goody to be a liar. I do know Aaron Rodgers to lie. He deceived people about his vaccination status, and I don't care that if he's vaccinated or not. It doesn't matter to me. Point is that he purposely misled people to think that he was vaccinated. That's called lying. He lied about how much his contract was going to be. He said, oh, no, it's not going to be $50 million per year. No, that's categorically false. And then his contract was $50 million per year. So, excuse me while I'm sitting over here and don't trust Rodgers in this situation. I fully believe that Goody and the Packers tried reaching out and couldn't get a hold of him. I am happy, though, that Goody came out and said something, because for the past couple of years, the Pat McAfee show has been an open forum for Rodgers to go out there and whip up on the Packers organization and give one side of a story, give his side of things, and paint the Packers however he wants to. And he gets the support of McAfee and the rest of the suck-ups to Rodgers that are on that show. He never gets hard questions. He never gets follow-up questions. It's been a weekly opportunity for Rodgers to paint anyone or anything however he would like with no pushback. So I was happy to see the Packers organization push back just a little bit on the narrative that Rodgers tried or has tried to create. And the Packers have a right to stand up for themselves. I thought it was interesting yesterday on a slightly different topic, sort of the same, but shifting here. Mark Tauscher tweeted this yesterday. He said, how the Jordy Nelson release was handled completely changed Aaron's outlook on the organization, and drafting Jordan Love was the dagger to the relationship that never, ever recovered and led to the lost season of 2022. So Rodgers, according to Tausch, was upset about Nelson being shown the door, essentially. What is it with Rodgers and these old players? He loves old Jordy Nelson. He loves old Randall Cobb. He loves old Mercedes Lewis. He's got this fascination with old players who are his friends. And don't get me wrong, it's cool to care about your friends and want them to be taken care of. But this is getting in the way of winning Super Bowls. And it's not the kind of attitude that you can have as an NFL player. Like your friends all you want. But if that's who you want to play with, you're putting those friendships over the most important thing in this cutthroat league where there are teams out there with quarterbacks and front offices who are all in on winning the Super Bowl. Cutthroat, doesn't matter. We're going to do what we need to do to win a Super Bowl. And frankly, it's not just Rodgers because the Packers backed him in this the last couple of years. And that's why you brought back guys like Cobb. That's why you kept guys like Lewis. That's why they've kept other players that Rodgers in the last couple of years have wanted. And they have put those friendships for Rodgers' sake before winning a Super Bowl. Now, with Rodgers gone, that's going to end. But that's a terrible attitude to have in the NFL. This idea as well, and this is something that was started by Rodgers, that the Packers treat their players, back to the Jordy Nelson tweet from Mark Tauscher, the idea that the Packers treat their players poorly, this was something that was kind of started by Rodgers. You know, he says, well, as players get old and they're kind of on their way out the door, he doesn't like the way that they're treated. And there is this idea now that the Packers treat these old guys poorly, and I don't think that's true at all. I think Rodgers got his delicate feelings hurt over some of his friends. It sounds like Jordy being one of them. He got his feelings hurt over some of his friends not being brought back, and that birthed in his brain this idea for the narrative that the Packers don't treat old players right. And, of course, the Rodgers cult members, which include Alan Lazard, go along with that narrative. Lazard, on his way out, said that, well, he didn't feel like the Packers even cared that they were losing him. Well, they probably didn't care, Alan. You're a number 4 or a number 3 receiver. You're the type of guy that comes and goes. And I got news for you. The Packers, the Jets, and no other team on this planet cares about you anymore than what you can do for them in that football field. And by the way, they pay you well for it, though. So shut up. Nobody's being mean. Nobody's being unfair. They don't care about you, Alan. The Jets aren't going to care about you. The Packers didn't care about you. What they care about is, can you catch a football on third down? Can you catch some touchdown passes? Can you perform? And if they can, guess what, Alan? They're going to compensate you for that very nicely, which they did. So I don't know what you're complaining about. Ridiculous. Why is that? It's Rodgers and these weirdos that he's friends with. It's true. But this idea that the Packers treat players poorly is silly. You know what I've always heard? I've always heard the Packers make sure that every single one of their facilities are first class, world class, best in the world to take care of their players. Did you go around Lambeau Field this past year? Construction all over that one parking lot. Why? Because they're building an underground parking structure. Heated underground structure for who? The players. For what? Their convenience. To take care of them. All their facilities are great. They take good care of their players. They bend over backwards for them, from all you hear, when you're playing for the team. But here's the reality. Players get old. When players get old, their skills decline. When your skills decline, you tell me what value they bring to the organization, and I'll answer that for you. None. And that's not being mean. It doesn't mean that the Packers hate your favorite player. It just means it's a business and it's time to move on. Because they're not going to pay money to an old guy who can't perform. They're going to pay that money to a young guy who can. And this is a constant cycle. There's nothing new here. At some point, the Packers didn't want the beloved Donald Driver. Why? Because you're going to pay other guys like Jordy Nelson his money. And then guess what? The cycle continues, and eventually Jordy gets old and someone gets his money. Someday Christian Watson is going to get old, and some young kid is going to get the money that he used to get. This really isn't that hard to understand. Not that hard to get. But Rodgers, because he gets his feelings hurt, tries to throw the Packers under the bus and make them look bad. Hey, by the way, I wanted to mention this. I figured out, and I've mentioned this a few times, how Jets fans are just giddy over the fact that they're getting Rodgers. They think that they're going to be getting that prime Aaron Rodgers like between 2010, 2016, and he's going to walk in, they're going to fly through the regular season, just bulldoze everyone that they come across, and then they're going to go to the playoffs, and they're going to run roughshod through that, and they're going to go to the Super Bowl, and they're going to win it. I finally figured out why they think that so highly after Rodgers didn't have that great of a season last year. I'm watching, and it doesn't matter. You can watch ESPN, you could be watching NFL Network. They're constantly talking about Rodgers. And as they talk about him, for the most part, they have highlights playing in the background while they talk. And each one of those highlights is great play after great play after great play for Rodgers. They don't show the ones that he missed. They don't show the plays where there was a guy wide open, 10 yards away, but he was going to throw it deep, play some hero ball, and then overthrew it, underthrew it, saw it a ton last year. But they don't show the plays where it's a little swing route to the running back and he just missed it. They don't show the plays where he had opportunities for a touchdown and threw behind a receiver. All you see on there is great throw after great throw after great throw. And most of them are to Lazard. God. They have no idea. The Jets, honestly, I think it's true. These Jets fans, they're watching this on TV and they're just salivating, and especially when they see, oh my gosh, look at these passes. He's got this connection with Lazard. Oh my! Because you see the same 5 touchdown passes over the last couple of years from Rodgers to Lazard, and Jets fans, there's drool flying out of their mouth. They think it's an instant Super Bowl for them. So I think the Jets are going to be an interesting watch over this next year, assuming that the Rodgers deal gets all done. All right, only one day until Brewers baseball. It's got the Brewers stuff on here today. Brewers. 1 day till Brewers baseball. Brewers open tomorrow against the Cubs at Wrigley Field. What a stupid place for opening day in March or April. It's still in March. Weather, chances are, is not going to be very good. Actually, for tomorrow, I'm going to luck out. It's supposed to be 51 and partly cloudy. So that's actually pretty good. Could be snowing in a wind chill of 15 degrees. So they're lucking out for opening day. But finally, real baseball is going to be back. The short-term Brewer, Corbin Burns, against Marcus Stroman in the pitching matchup. Looking forward to that. The season's really going to come down to pitching for the Brewers, assuming they don't sell as a first-place team if they happen to be there. Hopefully the offense better than last year. And so much of that is going to be on Yelich. When Yelich is hitting, it's just going to make the whole offense better. I mean, that's the way it has to be, especially if he's in that leadoff spot. Garrett Mitchell, he'll be someone to watch this year. Added some offense with William Contreras as well at catcher. So we'll see. It'll just be nice to have baseball back. All right, that's going to do it here for today. You can continue watching on YouTube. Please go there and go ahead and subscribe. Pretty much all you got to do is search Wisconsin Family. Find us on there. Hit the subscribe button if you'd like. We'd love to have you follow along on there. So if you're having a good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it may be, hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.